Welcome to another segment of my video in biology, and this time we are looking at genetics. So what you need to remember is that blood group inheritance in humans is actually controlled by three alleles. So there are three, alleles that control the inheritance of blood group in human, and these are allele A, allele B, and also allele O. Now, how are these actually determined? So it depends with the type of protein that is found on the surface of your red blood cell. So these alleles are, determined by looking at the type of proteins that is found on the surface of your red blood cells. For example, if on the surface of your red blood cells you have got protein A, it simply means that you are coded as being allele A. If at all on the surface of your red blood cells they find that you have got protein B, it simply means that you are coded as being allele B. But if you consider the absence of either protein A or protein B, it simply means that such a person will be coded as being allele O. So we are simply talking about this, and hence they form up the three alleles, in humans that control the inheritance of blood group. Now, what you need to remember is that, both, allele A and allele B are considered to be dominant. So they are both dominant. Let me just clear that up. So they are both dominant. They are actually both dominant to allele O, which is in this case we can say recessive. So it simply means that when either allele A is present with allele O, it simply means that allele A is going to be expressed because both allele A and allele B are dominant to allele O. So that is what you need to remember. Now quickly let me give you the possible genotypes and their corresponding phenotypes that we can have in humans. So can put up a table there so that we can quickly have that. This side I'll talk about the phenotype. Remember, the phenotype is simply the physical appearance of an organism for a particular trait or characteristic. Then the genotype is what is found inside of your genes. So in human beings, you can have a person who is actually in blood group A, or another one can be found in blood group B, or others can be found in blood group A, B, or others may actually be found in blood group O. So if a person is in blood group A, it simply means what is inside of the genes. How can we represent the genotype? And remember, the genotype is represented by two alleles. So in this case, if you're in blood group A, you can either be homozygous for blood group A, or you can be what we are calling as being heterozygous. Remember, this is homozygous because homo means same, so both alleles are the same. Hetero means different, so you can see one dominant and one recessive. If a person is in blood group B, they can either be homozygous dominant, or they can simply be heterozygous for blood group B. If a person is in blood group AB, then it simply means it's a combination of allele A and allele B. Now remember, such alleles that are equally expressed, we simply call them as being codominant alleles. So this actually blood group AB shows codominance because these are two different alleles, but they are equally going to be expressed in the phenotype. So we call them as being codominant alleles. So in an exam they can ask you, give examples of codominant alleles. Blood group AB, this type of blood group is actually codominant. What about the person who is found in blood group O? Well, it simply means he's going to be homozygous recessive. So that is going to be homozygous recessive. So if you notice, in terms of the phenotype, in humans, we only have 4 possible phenotypes. So there are only 4 possible phenotypes because it is either you are in blood group A, blood group B, blood group AB, or blood group O. But if a person is in blood group A, remember there are 2 possible genotypes. If a person is in blood group B, there are 2 possible genotypes. So please pay attention in an exam as you see that. Now, before we look at a standard examination questions, I want to give you just a few, golden tips. I'll call them as being golden tips that you need to remember that will help you during the exam. So now, when one parent, you can say when one parent is in blood group AB. So if one parent is in blood group AB, then this couple cannot have a child who is in blood group O. Or again, when one parent is in blood group O, if one parent is in blood group O, they cannot have a child who is in blood group AB. As a couple, they can never have a child who is in blood group AB. As long as one parent is in blood group AB, they cannot have a child who is in blood group O, who is having this blood group O. And as long as one parent is in blood group O, they can never have a child who is in blood group O, who is in blood group AB. Again, if we say if one parent is actually, homozygous for blood group A, or the parent can actually be homozygous for blood group what? For blood group B. This cannot have a child who is again in blood group O. So as long as one parent is homozygous for either blood group A or group B, then they cannot have a child who is in blood group O. But of course, it is possible if one parent is in blood group. If one parent is actually in blood group, is in blood group A, and the other one, and the other parent in blood group B. For example, if this parent in this case who is in blood group A is actually heterozygous for blood group A, and the other parent they are crossing with is also heterozygous for blood group B. Well, such combination, when one parent is heterozygous for blood group O and the other one heterozygous for blood group B, they can have a child of any type of blood group. So we are simply saying can have a child of any type of blood group. So all those first possible blood groups that we talked about, it is possible that they can have, as long as one parent is in this blood group and the other one is in that. Well, let's try to show you using an examination question, what we mean when we say that. Let's try to look at an examination questions. Allow me just to clear up this so that we can look at a question. Remember, we are focusing on the inheritance of blood group in humans. So the question that we can simply put up there simply says a husband. This is an examination question, so I'll just say, sample, question. So I'll just say sample question. So we can simply say that, a husband. So we can say a husband and wife, heterozygous, for blood group A and B respectively. A and B respectively. Then the question says with the help of a genetic diagram, show the possible show the possible, blood groups of their children. So they want us to show with the aid of a genetic diagram. They want us to show the possible blood groups of their children. So how do you carry out a genetic diagram? Well, a full genetic diagram can actually be written in this way. Remember, the question says a husband and wife. Now the key point there, they have told us that they are heterozygous. So remember, heterozygous means two different alleles. So they are heterozygous for blood group A and blood group B respectively, meaning the way they follow each other. So the husband is in blood group A, the wife is in blood group B, and that's why they use the word respectively. So the question here says, with the help of a genetic diagram, show the possible blood groups of their children. So what you do is you are going to start the P1 generation. That's the first parental generation. So what are you going to start with? We always start with what we are calling as being the phenotype, the physical appearance. What is the physical appearance? Well, if you want, you can say you have got a husband. If you want, you can say is a man who is crossing with a wife. Here, this is where we can even say, if we want, we can simply say, male crossing with with female. Or we could have talked about group A and group B because the husband is in group A, group B. That's the phenotype, the physical appearance. The next step that you need to go to is what we call as being the genotype. What is inside of the genes? So what is inside of the genes of the husband? This guy is in blood group A, but remember they said heterozygous. Heterozygous means two different alleles. So he's going to have allele A and allele O. Remember, allele A is dominant to allele O, therefore it should start. And the wife in this case is heterozygous for blood group B, so it will be allele B and allele O. In some books, you're just going to find they'll be writing AO and BO. That is also acceptable in this case, instead of using the I for the alleles. The next thing that is going to happen is that in the body cells, a reduction division, a process called meiosis will take place. But of course, there's no need of you showing that, which is going to help produce what we call gametes. Gametes are simply sex cells. So these will now separate. They were a pair together, but they'll separate. You are going to have allele A. I love to circle them to show that they have separated, and you're going to have allele O there. Again, these will separate in like manner. So you are going to have allele B. You are going to have allele B. I'll circle it, and you're going to have allele O. I'll circle it. I love to show them that way because they have actually separated. Then what is going to happen? Random, fertilization may take place. So according to Mendel, there's going to be random assortment of the gametes that will take place. So please pay attention. The first one will pair with the first one from the other side. Then again, this one will pair with the last one. So it is going to be this one, put it at an angle with the last one. I'll use a blue mark. I'll come to this one. This one will pair with that. And again, this will pair with the last one. So put them at an angle so that they are not too close, to each other. That's the way you need to put up. Now, the children that will be produced from the P1 is what we are going to call as being the F1 generation, the first filial generation. So the first thing you are going to come up with when the gametes are recombined is what is found in the genotype. So what is in the genotype? You just follow them, allele A and allele B. So that will be allele A and allele B. This one will be allele A and allele O. So allele A and allele O. When this one, you cannot start with a recessive one, you start with a dominant one. So it will be allele B and allele O. Then the last one, that is allele O and allele O. So therefore, we can now determine what is the phenotype. Well, if you notice, this one here is simply in blood group AB. What about the next one there? Well, this one is in blood group. You may be tempted to say A or no. Remember, A is dominant, so this is blood group A. This one again is not B or, this one will just be in blood group B, and this one will now be in blood group O. So you can see that all the children, when one parent is heterozygous for blood group A and the other heterozygous for blood group B, it is possible for them to have a child of any type of blood group. So remember, this is what we call as being, codominance in human beings, as we talk about two alleles that are, that are expressed equally in what we are calling as being the phenotype. Thank you so much for watching the video. Watch out for another video where we're going to talk about inheritance of sex in humans, and I'll definitely demonstrate using a genetic diagram.